Yo, do you have a yurt, dome, tent, cabin, A-frame, or anything in between? Are you looking to rent that out on a nightly basis on websites like Airbnb or VRBO? Well, then guess what? You have a glamping business or a unique short-term rental. And in today's episode, we're going to talk about some of the nasty, dark, gritty truths about this industry. I really don't shy away. We're going to talk about, is it good for you financially? Is it right and good with the environment? What's the eco footprint of businesses like this? And also, what about the small towns and small communities that businesses like this are usually in? So if you appreciate my candor and honesty in this video, or if you just want to keep supporting Keep It Tiny, please do leave a comment down below. It really helps me fight back the YouTube algorithm that absolutely hates these types of long form, boring content. So with that being said, let's dive into today's episode.
Some critics argue that glamping is just a glamorous form of camping.
Yeah.
And it goes against the essence of roughing it in the outdoors.
Mm-hmm.
How do you respond to that? The idea that glamping dilutes the traditional camping experience?
Yeah, I don't think glamping dilutes the traditional camping experience at all, because glamping isn't camping. We're humans. Right? We use words. That's what separates us from the animals. So these words have meaning. Camping is camping. Mm-hmm. Get your cup, get your cast iron skillet, go out there and rough it out. Glamping is glamorous camping. And there's many different levels to what glamorous camping can be. It could be a high-end luxury tent that's, $300 to $400 a night. But there's also glamping situations that are a little bit more like camping, where you're just roughing it out a little bit more. So, there's different ways to go about it, but they certainly aren't the same thing. It doesn't dilute it. It is just something separate. If anything, I would argue that it actually assists what they have going on, because things need to continue to evolve and grow. And also we need to give people different channels and avenues to do it, right? Like, let's say you, for an instance, you're from a major city, and you've lived in multiple major cities around the world, right? You don't like camping. So without glamping, you wouldn't really be going out into nature, but you're owed nature. You know what I mean? God gave nature to all of us. So how come you're not allowed to, go out there? It's almost as if sometimes camping is like a glass ceiling, or there's like some type of door, or it's more restrictive. It's really not for everybody.
Yep.
So not everybody has the ability to go out, and it's just not easy.
Yep.
So, yeah.
So you're saying like it's basically there's a barrier to entry with camping.
Absolutely.
And glamping actually opens the door.
Absolutely. So I could even say, and this is the worst way of saying it. It probably could say it better. Glamping is a gateway drug to camping.
Oh my God.
Without glamping, so many people wouldn't even think about camping. Glamping gives nature back to people who would never go camping. And maybe they might see it's not as bad as we thought it was.
Right. Because I can definitely relate to that sentiment of I would never go camping on its own.
Mm-hmm.
And now that glamping is an option, I consider it, right? Like,
exactly.
It's like, okay, let me kind of look into that option. Let me consider shopping around a bit and seeing what the conditions are.
Yeah.
So I get that. But glamping can also be very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So that goes to my next question. A lot of people say that glamping is pretty aggressive when it comes to pricing.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of tents and maybe like desert tiny homes running for anywhere from $200 to $500, you call it. What makes the physical experience of staying in a unique accommodation special and basically worth the investment of that much money to set it up?
The answer that isn't sexy or, isn't PC and for everybody is the fact that something is worth what somebody is willing to pay for it. That's why there's appraisals done, and there's a market value, right?
Yeah.
Now, what makes it worth it is, and I've said this 100 times, and I'll say it till I die, the modern day consumer would like to spend their hard-earned money on experiences. They are no longer looking for physical items. When my dad was a young man, he wanted a sports car with 2 doors and 4 mufflers. When I was a young man, I wanted an Averex jacket, Pele, Maurice Francis Gerbaud. Like, I just wanted to be basically on BET. I just wanted to be a young rapper or something, right? The modern day consumer And that's not just Gen Z, that's all of us. If you have cash in your pocket, aside from, paying your bills, we like to spend our money on experiences and things that are different. Because we are now realizing you can't take your nice jackets to the grave with you. You know what I mean? When you pass away, no one puts a picture of you and say, this is Julie and her fur coat. Her fur coat was so nice. But what they do show is pictures of you on a mountain and pictures of you living your life. So now we're realizing it's better to spend your money to enjoy your life and to do new things. So that's why, it's worth it. And now I do understand some glamp sites really do push it.
Right.
But I will say again, the market exists for a reason. The Kardashians need somewhere to glamp the same way that I, a simple common man, need somewhere to glamp. And, it's just available to all of us.
So there is a niche market for it. So do you truly think that there is any stay, like a glamping stay, that's worth $500? And if you do, what makes it worth it? What about that experience touches and makes it worth $500 a night?
I 100% believe that there may be an accommodation out there worth $500. And it depends what it is to everybody. When people go on their honeymoon, they don't necessarily care for the price. They see $500, they say no problem. When I go on vacation in Mexico or in the Caribbean or in Europe, $500 for a nightly stay, no problem. It really depends on what you gain from it. Now, again, though, I don't want to say $500 is absolutely nothing to sneeze at. My glamp site is nowhere near $500 a night. But that being said, it's like, it's not, it doesn't mean that you have to do that. You know what I mean? It is a large amount of cash. No one's forcing you to spend $500 a night, but it depends what you receive from it. Like, let's say, there's some champagne, if there's a hot tub, if it is some really nice decor, like interior design, the more unique, the better. Like, would you spend $500 to sleep in a castle?
Sure.
Would you spend $500 to sleep in the White House? Like, it really just depends what you receive from it.
Yeah, and I think that's the sort of allure that attracts a lot of potential sort of glamping business owners. They hear, oh, hey, there's this desert tiny home in the middle of nowhere and it's getting, it's calling 500 a night. Maybe there's, a cash grab there. But in actuality, it's actually really hard because, as you said, it's not really a tangible, like, hey, I'm paying $100 for this champagne. It's not a tangible commodity you're paying for. It's an experience. Yeah. And therefore, it's subjective to the individual who's paying for that. Absolutely. So it's really hard to say, like, hey, here's a checklist. These are all the things you need to put down in your glam site. I
might be pie in the sky, but experiences are like art. It depends on the person to have their perceived value of what it means to them.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So certain glamping, and we've all had this happen before where we get like catfished on Airbnb or VRBO. So like what'll happen is you want to stay at a location and the price point that they say is like, okay, it's reasonable. And you read the reviews and the reviews look awesome. Yeah. Then you get there and you're like, what the hell is even this?
Exactly.
It's happened to all of us. What that is exactly what it is. It's perceived value. It was nice to others and you have a different taste. I like steak. Some people like lobster. Like that's really at the end of the day, all it is. But the thing is it's funner to just scream. You know what I mean? It's funner to say, oh, look at these, these city folk, or look at these urban people, like, coming into these rural areas and doing this and doing that and not doing it the way that we did or not doing it the way that I would like them to do.
Right.
It's low key a problem with all of society right now, but whatever.
Yeah. And that kind of goes to a question that we also have around local communities. So some critics actually say that glamping contributes to over-tourism in certain areas where there's a lot of glam sites. How can the industry responsibly manage growth while also respecting these local communities?
Yeah. So I would say that it really relies on the business owner. And I say business owner because glamping is a business. I always talk about the glamping business.
Right.
It really relies on the business owner and how tight of a ship they run. Because I will be honest, that is an issue. That is a very big issue. I mean, I saw something on YouTube the other day. This one woman stayed at a very famous glamper's glamp site.
Okay.
And she said that she noticed trash everywhere and things along that nature.
Nice.
All money isn't green to me. You know what I mean? I am willing to offend some people if they disrespect my land and Mother Nature. So that being said, a lot of people are afraid to leave bad reviews on the people that stay at their locations on these sites like,
Right.
Airbnb, VRBO, that type of stuff,
Right.
because they're nervous they're going to piss people off or they might get a retaliatory bad review, So people are scared to kind of enforce their own rules. But that being said, there's also, issues that we've seen in large parks, national parks across America, where they're saying nowadays, because of Instagram and other things like that, people are flooding to them, taking a lot of photos, and
Exactly.
they're bringing in a group of people that aren't interested in the national park itself, but they're interested in just the photography, like getting that hot picture on the gram. So that is a major problem. I don't think the glamping business or the glamping industry is the one who's going to fix any of that. I think it's more of a societal thing that we have to get with, where it's just people need to be more respectful. At the end of the day, that's what it is. People need to be more respectful. Just because you handed somebody $100 to stay at their place per night, that doesn't mean you can trash it.
Yeah, and I think that kind of goes to why you see a lot of local communities enforcing laws, because you can't expect everyone to
Yeah.
be respectful. Like you can't just ask people nicely and all of them are going to listen, right? So you have these local communities that start enforcing and creating laws against, say, like short-term rentals, Airbnbs, etc. Do you think that hurts or helps at the end of the day?
Ooh, that's a bit of a sticky one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. I would, so I'm right in the middle, right? I
Mhm.
don't want to allow government to go crazy
Yep.
and rule with an iron fist.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I do want to make sure there's regulations, right? So yeah, I really would like to see that one on a case by case basis.
Okay.
I really would view that one on a case by case basis, a area to area basis. And to be honest, I don't care. I care less for what the government of those regions care about and more of what the people that actually live there, what they care about. Take Woodstock, for instance. There was a glamp site that was proposed. They were going to be like 300 tents. It was a giant operation.
Yeah.
The whole town revolted. They were like, hell the fuck no, we don't want that here. And I say, if they don't want it, then, veto it. Don't let it go down. But at the end of the day, do I want local government trying to telling us what to do? To each their own.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of runs into the problem of gatekeeping, no? So if you kind of rely on the local community to make decisions, I get why you're saying that though, like, because there's, pros and cons. They're there first, so they should have the right to say yes or no. But that means you're liable to kind of keep the status quo.
Yeah.
It's harder to change things and innovate and, get better and propose ideas and try new things, right? If the local
Absolutely.
community is against that.
That's true. And there's also a lot of pay to play with these local governments,
Right,
like
exactly.
cracking down on people where they're really just looking to gain, tax dollars or
Yeah.
make you pay for permits and that type of thing.
Yeah, exactly. I want to talk about the perception that glamping is only for the wealthy. How do you make your personal designs, accommodations, and all of your decisions around your glamping more inclusive? Or do you believe that glamping should remain a luxury experience?
See, again, though, I think the critics and the people that have that ideology are people that want to just bash glamping. Because glamping isn't already only for the rich. It's easier to get mad and get loud about that. But there are unique accommodations at every price point. Just go on Airbnb, go on VRBO, go on Instagram. You know what I mean? You can find these things at different price points. But if you want to get mad, it's really easy to cherry pick and look at the $500, $700 a night stay in Nevada or Joshua Tree or Jackson Hole in all the hot spots and say, look, this is ruining what we have going on. This is only for rich people. The common man can't afford it. I actually talk about this in one of my videos where I talk about buying land.
Yep.
Me personally, right? I don't know where everyone's financials are at. If I want to go buy a new car, I am not going to go to Maybach.com. I'm not going to go to RollsRoyce.com and look for a car. I can't afford that.
Yeah.
I'm going to find something within my means. Now, if the issue is that every glamp site was only at a price point that people couldn't afford, then I'd be the first person to say, hey, we got us a problem here. But that's just simply not the case.
Right, because that's like vacationing in general or any sort of pay for experience. Like there's a whole market for a range of price points. So
Absolutely.
one can say like, why are you kind of pinpointing glamping as having like a further end of the spectrum?
That's exactly it. But you can get very mad and it's easy to get mad if you have an agenda to push. Yo, what's up? This is j.esperance. We're going to get right back into today's conversation. I just quickly wanted to talk to you about the Keep It Tiny Club. If you are serious about starting a unique short-term rental or glamping business this year, then this is the club for you. If you're interested in networking with other people who are serious, online live events, Q&As with industry experts, sharing information, and hey, maybe even having a direct one-on-one conversation with me, then check out www.keepittinyclub.com to learn more. But hurry up because we're having a ton of virtual online live events happening all the time, and I don't want you guys to miss out.
Okay. Tiny homes and micro living are gaining popularity. Do you see glamping as a response to the desire for smaller, more sustainable living spaces, or is it more about providing a unique experience?
Yeah, it's definitely more about providing a unique experience. Again, glamping is not going to save the world. It's just going to put a smile on the world's face. But that being said, earlier I called glamping art, right? And art imitates life. So in life, if people are naturally now more gravitated towards minimalism, tiny homes, kind of reducing their footprint on Mother Nature, it's going to show up in how they like to travel and how they like to view their lives holistically. I think this is a crazy thing. I remember in the 90s and the late 2010s when the world was changing. And I don't mean that in a grandstanding way. I mean that more just consumers. Some companies realized the more holistic change that people were interested in, and they adapted and they gained profits from it. And some companies didn't, right? McDonald's was just like, okay, fine. We're not going to supersize things anymore. Like supersizing stuff was wild. Like those things were crazy. They would give you like a gallon of Coca-Cola. So they just understood like, okay, people don't want that anymore. And I'll be honest with you, what I'm seeing a lot now is these larger Marriotts, Hyatts, etc., they're starting to have offshoots that are glamping destinations, just, white labeled with another name on it, but it's owned by them. So a lot of people are starting to realize that this is a direction that more and more people are going into. So I definitely think there's a correlation right there.
Okay.
I don't think that's the exact causation, but I do think that the fact that minimalism, tiny homes, reducing our carbon footprint is something at the top of mind for a lot of people. I think it's going to show in the way that they live their lives, the cars they drive, the houses they buy, the places they choose to live in, and the vacations that they choose to take, and the style of vacations that they choose to take.
Okay, and do you think there's anything around like affordability that's affecting this trend? Like just straight up, we can't afford bigger houses. So now we're just kind of reducing. Yeah, it's great to reduce our carbon footprint and, environment, yada, yada. But is it more just about affordability? We can't afford houses anymore.
Well, I think for the real estate housing crisis, that could be a part of it.
Okay.
I don't think that's a part of it with glamping. When people go glamping, they're looking to do something different and unique. They aren't looking necessarily, they don't go out of their way to go more and more tiny, right? They are just looking for something that's different, something that's more unique.
Okay.
I don't think, again, in the glamping industry, it isn't cheaper because there's less square footage.
Right.
If anything, it's more costly per square footage.
Yeah.
So I don't think that there's any correlation going on there. I mean, I didn't grow up rich. I didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth. And, we didn't go glamping for that reason. We just stayed at, hotels that we could afford.
Right. But like when you bought your tiny house, you weren't trying to, your end goal wasn't like, I'm going to retire here, right? Like it was going to be a secondary residence, right? Can you kind of speak to that personal experience of like, you're not buying, you weren't thinking about buying a tiny house because I can't afford a house, but more so, hey, I want this like side, I guess, income or side experience. Like what was the impetus for that?
Yeah, so for me, at the time, I was living in New York City, which I still do live in, and I was working at a tech company in Manhattan, and they were working me to the bone. And my overall goal was to have somewhere I could retreat to. And it was kind of a cost-saving measure. If I
Okay.
spend 50 grand up front to buy some land, build a cabin, then I can go there as much as I'd like. And I hear that a lot with people who have glamp sites or people who even have cabins and things like that. We're looking for a place that we can run away to clear our minds. We're not really looking for a main home, right? A place to raise children in.
Yeah.
So that was my goal. And then I realized if I wasn't there, then I could make a little bit of extra cash, maybe selling it, renting it out. And that's kind of how I got into the glamping industry.
Okay. Yeah, I guess there's a trend amongst millennials to kind of do that. Cool. So next question. Camping often emphasizes a connection with nature, but some say glamping is just another form of luxury consumption in natural environments. How do you address concerns about the environmental impact of glamping structures and the waste that comes with people vacationing in nature?
That's exactly what I was going to go to. Unfortunately, it's like something dirty, something we don't like to talk about, but it's the reality. Almost all vacations are waste.
Okay. That's a hot take.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. If you think anything else, you're lying to yourself. Unless you're vacationing somewhere and you're going there to build homes.
Right.
All vacations are, you kind of going out of your means, you doing something a little bit fun, right? Now, with that in mind, I think more eco-friendly stays, which at its core, I believe most glamp sites should strive to be, they are going to reduce the amount of waste that is associated with, vacations. So I think that glamping actually could be something that would help with that, less than hurt that. There's a place in Korea, it's called Jeju Island. They have a large idea and want to reduce their carbon footprint as much as possible. Like when you're on that island, there's wind turbines everywhere. Almost every car is electric, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
But they're finding it very difficult to get it all the way there, go all the way across the line to where their carbon footprint is down to zero. And the reason being is it's a vacation island. So that being said, it's just very hard to do. But I do think that most eco-friendly places are, a lot better than, me traveling to a major city, me Ubering all around that major city, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's just an uncomfortable truth that people will have, but it's an uncomfortable truth that is around vacationing as a whole.
Right. So I guess like a huge theme here is that the problems that critics talk about with glamping aren't really specific to glamping. They are just in general a problem with society or how like vacationing or camping is done in general. I think that's your thesis, right?
Potentially, or maybe I'm over here, baby facing for the industry.
Yeah, I feel like you're definitely defending the industry. And maybe there's an argument to say that the glamping industry is only a very, very small slice of the entire industry or like capitalist society. And so maybe you're right. Like the footprint of glamping is so small that it's just going to be negligible. But as the forefront of the glamping
I'm so badly
industry,
not the forefront. Okay.
I do want to like hear from you like the sense of, is there any sense of accountability amongst should there be any sense of accountability amongst glamping owners?
Yeah, I was going to say that if there is any accountability within the industry, don't put it on the people that stay at glamp sites and enjoy these types of unique destinations. Put it on the people that set them up and build them. Look at it from that lens and, kind of look at how they run their shows, how their operations are set up and their overall mentality.
Yeah.
Are they willing to offend or piss some people off that stay at their site because they trashed the place? I remember the first time they literally, and my blood was boiling. They left trash in the yard of my glamp site. The yard of my glamp site, I say that loosely, it's just in front of my cabin. It's an off-grid cabin in the woods.
Yeah.
So they literally left trash in the woods. Like, I mean, I'm from the city, but even I know you don't do that.
Yeah,
so, I kind of got very loud with them. I left them a bad review. I told them about it right then and there. They left me a bad review, back. And I reached out to Airbnb and we kind of worked that out. But that being said, it's really on the owner of the business and how they are choosing to run their show and run their operation.
Right. And do you think there's a possibility of basically big glamping being a thing, like big pharma, big yada yada, and those corporations just not giving any care about
Yeah,
those problems? Like, so the small business owners can have those concerns, but I
absolutely.
would imagine big glamping won't.
I don't think there's a possibility.
Hmm.
I think it is a definite conclusion. There will be such thing as big glamping, and it already exists. There's a lot of glamp sites and resorts. I've seen them. Those are the ones that are really $600-700. So maybe
Yeah.
those are the people we need to put in this seat right now.
Yeah.
But those are the ones that have venture capital backed funding, large multi-million-dollar bank loans and construction loans, etc. Those are the people that actually, to be honest with you, we're going to have a problem with.
Yeah.
They're the ones who are, looking to pillage and take from communities, etc. But that being said, I put that honestly on. Now we can talk about the consumer.
Consumer, yeah.
Be aware of where you're going. I mean, just the type of guy that I am, if I can always give my money to a mom and pop shop, a small business, I would much rather that than send my money to Blackstone.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, um, there's a higher possibility that those glam sites are being opened at like the VC model, right, where they can put in a lot of money and they don't have to worry about making any money or any profit in the beginning. So they're basically pricing out people like yourself or any other small business owners. So that kind of creates this like vicious cycle where you're going to have the Marriotts of the world and whatever just basically encase all of these local communities.
Yeah.
How do you see the responsibility? Like, what do local business owners, what can they do to prevent that? Or, you know, what should we do about that sort of potential problem?
Yeah. Okay. I'm from a small art town. And there's a pizzeria right on Main Street that everybody knows about.
Yep.
After a football game, that's where everybody's at. There's like a weird picture of Justin Bieber in there for some reason. Everybody knows about it, right?
Yep.
Amazing pizza, amazing people. They've owned that place for 20 years.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. I've only been alive that long. They've owned that place for maybe like since the 50s or 70s, right? So that being said, there's a difference in quality and there's a difference in like atmosphere from that place and Domino's, right? When I walk into that pizzeria, they know my name. There's a level of care and attention that you receive. And that's why I say, if you can shop small, you actually do reap the rewards. Is there large pie more expensive than Domino's? Absolutely. Is there large pie 10 times better? Absolutely. So I think that is what people like myself can do once big pharma gets larger. I'm sorry, big pharma. Once big, that's a crazy term you made up. Once big glamping takes over, right?
Yeah.
And gets a push. Because right now they're dabbling. They're starting to realize that it's worth it. So now there's more money going into it. There's more money going into it. Maybe 3 to 5 years we'll be at that point where they're really all over the market. And at that point, it is on us to kind of dig deeper. The lazy glamping business owners are going to get destroyed. They're going to get swallowed up and chewed out.
Yep.
But people like myself, people who are able to adapt, people who are willing to learn, they are going to be able to kind of push through.
Yeah. So the irony here is that the Marriott's entering or trying to enter the glamping industry almost gives people like yourself validation. Like there's something here. The market sort of is there and it's only getting bigger. There's a lot to capitalize on it. But at the same time, now you guys have to adapt to that.
Yeah.
It's essentially, but I guess that's also an argument that right now is the best time to open a glamping business.
Absolutely.
Like you said, 5 to 10 years is kind of the time frame here where these businesses come in. So maybe now is the right time to start. And then by the time these Marriotts come in.
Yeah, you're already established.
Exactly.
You're the pizzeria in downtown that the kids go to.
Exactly.
The best time to plant a tree was about 20, 50, maybe even 5 years ago. The second best time to plant a tree is right now.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it's actually a really good time to jump into the industry, to be smart about it. Also, you have the benefits of there still are a lot of towns that will accept you with open arms, that don't have large barriers to entry or red tape. I mean, the town that I set up my glamping business in, when I reached out and asked for their short-term rental laws, I mean, I already did my research and I couldn't find any, but I reached out to the town just to discount double check right before I went into it. And they said, we don't have any short-term rental laws. Well, that could potentially change in 5, 10 years. So, and then at that point, I most likely will be able to be grandfathered in to the current laws. So, yeah, I think right now is actually a really good time. I mean, there's so many reasons why, that if you just look at the general market, look at the way that Airbnb has changed over the years, what works on those platforms and what don't, So, yeah, I think right now is a really good time.
Yeah, totally. Last question. In a world increasingly focused on minimalism, how do you justify the construction of relatively small and unique accommodations when there's a full-blown housing crisis out there?
That's a really good question. Again, I personally think, though, that sometimes people view this from a city lens.
Okay.
The location that most glamping businesses are at, there is no housing crisis out there. If anything, there's land on top of land, right? And I'm not saying that we should come and build shopping malls, but a cabin in the woods is a drop in the ocean. So I don't think that there's going to be a problem. I definitely think there is a housing crisis. I agree with that. But at the location or the place that glamp sites are at, there is not an issue. And that being said, we've actually seen tiny homes being used in some major cities to kind of help with the homelessness problem, the housing crisis, and other things of that nature. So I think with tiny homes, how you're able to have a little bit more density, I actually think it is something that we should look into more to kind of help the housing crisis overall. That being said, though, I can already see the comments right now.
Yeah.
There is no one silver bullet to the housing crisis. And if there is, I sure as hell am not going to be the person to figure it out. But at the same time, I can try to do my best.
Right.